Hello and welcome into this ARCA Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching Racing News Now video, we are currently in our hashtag Race to 1K. If you haven't subscribed already, go down below for me, hit that subscribe button. It is free to do. The quicker we get to 1,000 subscribers, the quicker YouTube will let us do mobile live streaming so that we can do mobile live streaming from the track, which will vastly improve both the quality and quantity of coverage we are able to give you when we are at the track, giving you coverage from these races. So let's talk about today's ARCA East race, only the third of the season thus far for the East Series. We came into this race with one win apiece for Sam Mayer and Ty Gibbs, and again, they were the heavyweights in this race. Not a surprise to anyone. They are I think when we looked at the beginning of the season, they were clearly the two drivers I think we were looking at as battling it out for this East Championship this year, and it has not been a surprise that they are the two really going for this championship this year. 125 laps, 125 miles around the 1 mile, Dover International Speedway in Dover, Delaware in the General Tire 125. Very tame race for the most part through the vast majority of this race. Only 3 caution flags total for 11 laps in this race. 2 of those, of course, being the scheduled breaks for pit stops at lap 31 and 71. The only incident coming in this race came late in the race when Ty Gibbs got into the wall at the exit of turn 2, and he got into the wall hard. He essentially had used up his equipment in the final run. He went out hard charging after that final break, got out to a big lead over Sam Mayer, and really it seemed like used his stuff up, because as we got later into the run, Mayer was able to reel him back in and got around him. Gibbs continued to push hard, of course, now that he had lost the lead, to try and get back to the lead. Unfortunately, I think had really just possibly melted the bead in the right front tire and sent that car hard into the outside wall off of turn number 2 after the right front went flat, and unfortunately that ended the day for Ty Gibbs as he got heavy damage from this. But hopefully a learning lesson for Ty Gibbs after the last couple of races. He always seems to be on 110% in these races, which I get it. I understand why you want to be going as hard as you can all the time. You want to do everything that you can to win these races. But sometimes there's a reason, there's a saying, sometimes to go faster you need to go slower, and I think Sam Mayer has figured that out. I don't think Ty Gibbs has figured that out yet. Sometimes you've got to pace yourself and not drive the car as hard as you possibly can from lap 1 to get to the end of the race. It just doesn't do it. He lost the race in Daytona last week because he charged out as hard as he could at the beginning of every stint, and he used his stuff up and fell back to Michael Self after each of those runs. He did the same thing today in Dover. Charged out as hard as he could in every run and then fell back to Sam Mayer late in the run. And then once Mayer got by him in this last stage, he continued to have to push hard when he lost the lead to try and get back to the lead, and that's what ultimately, I think, caused that right front tire to go down and his day to be over. So hopefully a learning lesson for Ty Gibbs. I really do believe he's going to be a superstar in the future, but he's got to learn to pace himself sometimes. These aren't real short sprint races like on a Saturday night short track. These races are going to continue to get longer and longer as he continues to progress through his career, and he's got to learn how to pace himself so that he can get to the end of the race and win all these races that I think many of us know that he can win and will win throughout his career. Contingency awards today. Ty Gibbs, of course, your General Tire Pole Award winner. Mason Diaz, your Bounty Rookie of the race. Shout out to Chuck Buchanan Jr., the K&N Filters Hard Charger of the race. Started 16th and ended up in the top 10 in this race. Kudos to Chuck Buchanan Jr. for picking up the K&N Filters Hard Charger Award in this race. And you see on here, Ty Gibbs did get the Richmond Water Heaters halfway leader of this race. And as we switch to the lap leaders of this race, you'll see he led so many more laps than Sam Mayer in this race. 104 laps went to Ty Gibbs, and Sam Mayer only leading 21 laps, but those were the important 21 laps as they were the final 21 laps of the race as Sam Mayer picked up his second ARCA Series East victory of the season. Didn't have the fastest car early on. In fact, didn't have the fastest car even late in the race to start the final segment of the race. But like I mentioned earlier, I think he's figured out that he needs to pace himself a little more to be able to get to the end of runs and I don't think Ty Gibbs has quite figured that out yet, or figured out how to do that yet, because it just seems like he's on 110% all the time, and that's not going to get you to the end of the race in these longer races, or if it does, it's not going to get you to victory lane more often than not. He's got to learn how to balance charging as hard as he can and being as competitive as he can and pacing himself to get to the end of these races. Eventually, I do believe he will figure that out, but unfortunately, it doesn't seem like he has figured that balance out yet. David Gilliland, in his first career ARCA Menard Series East start, driving the 54 today out of his own stable for DGR Crosley, came home with a solid second place finish. Good run for David there. Mason Diaz, of course, we saw he was the bounty rookie of the race, came home with a solid top 3 finish. Max McLaughlin ended up in 4th, and Drew Dollar rounded out the top 5 in his first ARCA East start of the season. Rest of your top 10, Corey Heim, Parker Retzlaff, Chase Cabry, Taylor Gray, and Chuck Buchanan Jr. We mentioned he was the K&N hard charger of the race, came home with a solid top 10 finish. Final page 11th through 17th, Kyle Sieg making his second ARCA start this weekend. Solid 11th place finish, had some mechanical issues in the middle of the race, fell back to 9 laps down and was able to get back out on track and finish the race, but unfortunately not able to be competitive at the end of the race. Ty Gibbs, after his incident, landed in the 12th position. Nick Sanchez had mechanical issues early in the race and was out at lap 13. And Joe Graff Jr. with mechanical issues also out just before Sanchez at lap 12. Graff making one of his rare East Series starts this week in the 74 for Visconti Motorsports. So that's your results from the General Tire 125. We do have the post-race Zoom call from the media center. The files the last couple weeks have been a little weird, and my computer hasn't been wanting to read them for whatever reason, so if I can get it to work, it will be right here. If not, we're going to head over to your point standings following this event. Sam Mayer, of course, does still lead the ARCA Menard Series East points. Came into the race with only a 1-point lead over Ty Gibbs. Now it has grown to 13 points. The gap has grown quite a bit as we are now halfway through the schedule as we know it for the ARCA East Series. Of course, there may be a couple more races added in here or there to finish the season. We don't know if we're done adding in races yet or not, so there could be another race or two thrown into the schedule, but as of right now, we are 3 races into a 6-race schedule, and Sam Mayer holds a 13-point lead over Ty Gibbs in that championship. Chase Cabry holds down the 3rd spot, 27 points back. Parker Retzlaff in 4, 28 points back, and Nick Sanchez rounds out the top 5. Max McLaughlin and Mason Diaz back there 6th and 7th as well, also running the full season in ARCA East. But that's your point standings following the General Tire 125, and I believe that'll do it for us on this ARCA Rewind. We'll have another one coming up tomorrow, of course, for the Colorado race for ARCA West. And if you're not already hanging out in the watch parties, you need to be. We have a fun time in there, keeping you updated on what's happening in these races, especially on the MAV TV and Track Pass races that I know a lot of people don't get. So we try to keep you as updated as possible on those races. And we just hang out, have a good time, chat with each other. Come hang out in those. They are a fun time. That will be 7 p.m. Eastern tomorrow on Saturday for the ARCA West race from Colorado, and of course a rewind show for that after the race finishes as well. Lots of stuff coming up for you here in the next few weeks. So definitely, if you're not subscribed already, especially since we're in our hashtag Race to 1K, definitely go down there, hit that subscribe button for me, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. While you're down there, hit that big thumbs up button for me if you like the video. It is much appreciated when you do. And as always, I want to give a shout out to our patrons, President Gambit and Regional Manager William Holmes. Thank you for all that you do for RNN. It is very much appreciated. If you want to be a patron for RNN, the link is down below in the description. Patreon.com/RacingNewsNow. Not required by any means, but it is very much appreciated if you do support us that way. But I think that's going to do it for this ARCA Rewind show. So at that, this has been the ARCA Menard Series Rewind show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.